Hello everyone and welcome to day 20 of TryHackMe's Advent of Cyber. My name is Katie, also known as Insider PhD, and I'm going to be doing the walkthrough. So we're at day 20, there's 4 more days to go before Advent of Cyber ends, but just in case you're not entered, you're a regular viewer to my channel, TryHackMe's Advent of Cyber is a challenge that goes on all the way through December, and it's about teaching you new cybersecurity skills. We've looked at AI, we've looked at file injection, we've done chatbot stuff. So there's a really broad range of challenges and really helps you upskill into areas you wouldn't necessarily have done before. If you need some more motivation though, there are prizes. You can see they have $50,000 worth of prizes. You don't need to complete the tasks on the day that they're set. Like a regular advent calendar, if you abandon it all December and then you eat all the chocolate on Christmas Day, that's totally fine. You can still enter, you can still join. All you need to do is just get started. As long as you do it by December 27th, that's totally fine. We are at day 20. One of the main reasons the best festival company acquired an art to crafts was their excellent automation for building, wrapping, and crafting. Their new automation pipelines make it much easier, faster, scalable, and effective process. However, somebody has tampered with the source control system, and something weird is happening. It's suspected that Greedy has impersonated some accounts and teamed up with rogue frostlings. Who know what will happen if a malicious user gains access to the pipeline. In this task, you will explore the concept of poison pipeline execution, or PPE, in a GitLab CI/CD environment and learn how to protect against it. You will be tasked with identifying and mitigating a potential PPE attack. A GitLab instance for an Artcraft CI/CD automates everything from sending signals and processing best festival company services to building and updating software. However, somebody has tampered with the configuration file, and the logs show some unusual behaviour. Some suspect the frostlings have bypassed and gained access to our build processes. And you can see the learning objectives for this task are to look at CI/CD pipeline. So let's start with some fundamental concepts here. So a version control system is a piece of software that developers use to easily allow a bunch of people to make changes to a code base without breaking it for everybody else making changes. One is GitLab, one you might also be familiar with is GitHub. If you're older, you might be familiar with SVN. Same kind of idea. Now, on top of these version control systems, we have CI/CD pipelines, and pipelines essentially say, hey, once the code has been committed, once the developer has put this code in, do these processes, whatever those processes are. Essentially, that code is consistently integrated, testing, and delivered to the environment, like production or test. Now, security scanning can be a part of that, and it's often how companies will secure code. They'll build in these scanning tools that happen at this pipeline, so that way all the developers need to do is just commit the code, and all the security team needs to do is review what comes out of that test. If it fails, sometimes you don't even need the security team's input. A lot of that happens automatically. So you might be wondering what CI and CD stand for. So CI is continuous integration and CD is continuous deployment. So continuous integration essentially allows developers to commit code frequently and then trigger automations that build that code and test that code. Essentially, it's all about making sure that, hey, you submit code, it must go through process A, B, C. And that's the integration part. The deployment then says, hey, once it's gone through those pipelines, make it public, deploy it to the website. And that's that deployment element of it. So the production environment is that final one. We might have it deployed to a sandbox environment. We might have it deployed to a test environment. And essentially, the idea is that you submit a piece of code, you commit it, developer writes it, commits it, says go. All these pipelines happen automatically. So all the developer sees is that code is now up. And it works. If it fails one of those tests, they can see the results and then make it more secure. That's essentially how that's supposed to work. And it's part of this overall idea of DevSecOps. And DevSecOps is all integrating the development with the security, with the operation. And you might have heard of DevOps. DevSecOps is like a little adding security to that existing process. So we're learning about a very specific attack called PPE, Poison Pipeline Execution. The idea is that the attack is about compromising a specific stage in this process. So when a developer puts their code in, you kind of trust that a developer isn't going to mess up the pipeline. However, they could, and you can have a compromised account be able to inject malicious code into the pipeline, mess with the build processes, turn some stuff off. And often the kind of solution to this is about stopping code from getting there if there is an account. So before we get started, we're going to need the VM, which I've already got set up, and the attack box today. So I'm just going to scroll up here, show the split view. So we're going to start by just taking a look at what we've got here. So we're going to go into Firefox and we're going to access the VM's website. So that is 10.10.62.35. And now if we let that load, it's going to ask for a username and a password. So we're going to use DevSecOps and then try with an exclamation point as the password. And here we can see we're logged into GitLab. So we can see that there may be an error as we explore this. Don't worry about it too much. We can do this all completely in the browser. So first thing we're going to do is check out this project here. So we can have a look and see that we've got a README, a YAML, and a public folder. Now, the YAML here is a configuration file for the GitLab CI/CD pipeline. So you can see here, it's running some code. It's running some terminal scripts, so you can see who am I, you can see which directory we're in, we look at all the directories, and then we're echoing some basic HTML, and then saying, hey, run a Docker container, loading up an Apache web server on a specific port. You can see that here, that's saying, hey, run the Apache type web server on this port. So if we have a scroll down, we can see the different stages of this. So we start out with a workflow, which defines what we're creating. We're having to install some dependency. We've got the before script. So this runs if there's already a Docker container up and stops it. So that way we can start a new one. We've then got the test stage. So here you can see we've got all these little scripts, and finally we have that Docker run for our Apache server. We have some artifacts, so that's the path for the public folder. And finally here we have some rules. So this only runs if the code is triggered on the main branch. So let's take a look here. So Detective Froster received reports that the Advent Calendar site has been stuck in testing phase for a few weeks. However, the team is acting strangely and the site has been acting up. As a DevSecOps engineer, you must help Detective Froster understand what's happening. So we can start by checking if there's any merge requests or attempts to merge. This will show us if someone's committed a bad piece of code and see what they've actually committed. So we're going to start by going into the merge requests here and seeing what's in there. So you can see here there's no open merge requests, there's one that has been successfully merged, and there's 0 closed. So if we have a look at this merge request here, we can see that this is like a piece of code that somebody has submitted and has been approved and ticked off. So if we take a look here, you can see some kind of discussion from Frostino and Delph Lead discussing this. And you can see here that Delph Lead has unfortunately decided to trust Frostlino's code. Maybe they shouldn't have. So if we have a scroll down here, we can actually see what's happened from a merge request. So we can see here, these are the commits, and we can see the pipeline here. So we're going to go to over here, and we can see every job that's run. So we're going to check out this first one here. So this is the most recent one that has been executed, and we can see everything that's happening here. So we can start by having a little check of the website. So we're going to go to the same IP address. So we know that the port 80 just has GitLab on it. However, if we have a look at the logs here, we can see that it's running on the port 9081. So I'm going to go in here and do 9081. And you can see here, we've got Frostling's rule. The page has been defaced. So we're going to just scroll down past this. We'll go over this in a second to the questions and start answering the first few here. What is the handle for the developer responsible for the merge changes? So we know that this belongs to this commit. I'm just going to open that in a new tab. And we can see here that it was done by DevSecOps. So DevSecOps. Submit. Correct. What port is the defaced calendar site running on? We just did that to get the defaced port. So we can go in here and 9081. What server is the malicious server running on? Well, you can go into the jobs and see that this is running Apache. What message do the frostings leave on the defaced website? So we're going to go here and we can see it says frost smiley face. Okay, great. So that's the first lot of answers there. Now we need to do the investigation part. So I'm just going to scroll back up here and we can see that these jobs, we can see the full logs of them here. So this is showing what everything that has happened. You see these logs here. You can see the who am I, the directory that it's running in, the LSLA, and then finally down here, this is where it's running the Docker container. So how do we see what changed? Well, we're going to have a look in the commit history here by going into the commits. And you can see there's quite a lot of different changes, and we can see that DevSecOps is responsible for quite a lot of them. Now, if we're trying to understand what has been changed here, we kind of want to not really care about these most recent ones necessarily. Though if we want, we can take a look at this and we can actually see what's been changed at each stage. So you can see ready for production has added a defaced calendar image to it. We can see that ready for staging has added all these extra commands. So the who am I, the pwd for the current directory, the ls that we saw. So we can start to see how this script may have been edited. So let's check out the commits by the most recent kind of friendly person. So we can see here that we've got an update from Delph lead. So this is likely a legitimate user. This change doesn't really have many changes. We can go into here. We can see there's an update readme. Again, probably not what we're looking for. We can see they added the pipeline, and we can also see updating CSC's calendar. And we can see we've got a change there of the calendar. So which one of these has the original deployment code? Let's have a look for Delph lead, because obviously this is the correct user. And we've got added test deploy pipeline for calendar here. So great, we can have a scroll down and we can see that this commit is missing all of those extra scripts. We're only seeing the Docker container. We're not seeing the defaced website anymore. And again, we can see we've got the same rules, and we can see we're missing all of those extra scripts. So this is the correct commit. So I'm just going to go back to get that commit ID. And it's this one here, this 986. So that is 986B7407. Submit. Got that one. Detective Fro believes it was an account takeover based on the activity. However, Tracy might have left some crumbs. If you are doing the TryHackMe side quest, you may want follow these steps here to restore the website and then check out the website. So I'm sure you'll find your clue that you're looking for in there. But if you're not doing the side quest, you can just mark it as complete. And if you want to learn a bit more, you can check out the source code security room. Again, this is going into more about pipelines, more about Git, more about version control and secret management. So if you want to continue learning, it's a great place to start. Thank you so much, everybody. This is the last day of Advent of Cyber video that I'm doing this year. So have a great festive period, everybody, whether you celebrate Christmas or you're just celebrating December and the start of a new calendar year, and when the days get brighter once again. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you all next video. Bye, everyone.